In today's video, we're going to talk about something I never thought I would ever really talk about on the channel, but we are going to talk about how retro video game collecting has slithered its way into my rotation of hobbies. And I'm not even talking about just the games! Now, although my IKEA desk drawer might look a little familiar compared to when I used to collect something else, but I can guarantee you this time around that I'm not becoming a collector. You see, my friends wanted me to start slanging.
Courier service. You got the grip? Present and accounted for.
Games across overseas. Now this could just be an individual game, or I would include a game with my newest side project that I deemed the case collage. Now when it came to the case collage, I was only really making them for the homies, but I never really considered making one for myself. But that would change as around the time where I uploaded my last video and started on this video, I was surprisingly contacted by PCBWay to help me with my current and future creative endeavors. Since I would need to revamp my enclosure to get the most out of this opportunity, I figured since I was already playing with the idea of making a case collage for myself, why not send my current idea and just have PCBWay make it themselves so I can feature in this very video. Now I'd be lying if I said that this opportunity is the sole reason why this video started in the first place. It actually started from my girlfriend taking notice of the random pieces that found its way onto my desk and into the drawers since she watched this collection grow over time. She would ask simple questions like, why is this one pro and this one is not? You don't even have a fucking tape player for that. But there was one question that was very simple but left me kind of speechless, and it was, which one of these things, games, figure, whatever it is you're doing, which one of these are for you? Which one of these are you going to keep? After she said that, I thought it'd be cool just to go on a retro video game hunt within Japan and go find games that were actually significant to me. Actually, nope, that's a lie, because we're actually do more like hobby hunting, because it seems another hobby has simultaneously found its way into my rotation of hobbies along with the one that has just started, that is retro video game hunting, and it's the one I'm gonna be talking about later in the video. It's a Gundam! This would lead me to iterate my original idea that I had for the video along with this opportunity from PCBWay by the means of looking for two games to include within my case collage, with the caveat being they have to have some type of connection to me personally. We're kicking off this little series, yes, series, surprise, surprise, in Kobe within the Hyogo Prefecture, specifically around the popular Sun Plaza area, not too far from the Kobe Tower. Every store I mention in this video is within walking distance, so I'm hoping to make this as easy to follow as possible. This way the handful of you that find yourselves within this area can consider this your half-ass guide. Now typically when I do these nerd journeys, I usually go at it alone, you know, I go solo dolo, but for whatever reason this time around, girlfriend Yuchan insisted on coming with me, and I think it was really just to see me in my element and just appreciate the nerd that I am. Unbeknownst to both of us, this would actually trigger the start of a hobby that neither of us saw coming. So I'm going to bring you guys along with me as we go to specialty shops, secondhand stores, model shops, pretty much anything that catches my interest within this Sun Plaza area, and just show you guys what I pick up and what I come across, and maybe share some stories as I reminisce of a game that might end up in my hands.
Welcome to the revolution. Hey, come on, come on!
But first, we shall talk about today's sponsor, PCBWay. Have you had an idea sitting in limbo because you didn't have the machines to see it all the way through, like printing your own flight stick out, pairing it with your own custom PCB, and finishing it off with a CNC lever? Well, PCBWay can turn that idea of yours into reality. From 3D printing services to CNC machining to PCB fabrication, which, I mean, it's in the name, you little shit. They'll do the hard part so you can continue lying to yourself about productivity. Just upload your files, pick your poison, and wait for the magic to arrive. PCBWay.com for when your ambition outpaces your follow-through. So here we finally have here in front of me my first project from PCBWay. Now I never could imagine having a sponsor on this channel at all, because we all know my upload schedule is about as accurate as my Apex gameplay. Now what's funny is the day I actually made this was the day I sent it out, so I had no time to prototype it, no time to test out the fitment or test out any flaws that might come with the design. So I'm praying that this won't be the first garbage product that I accidentally had PCBWay make for me. But man, this couldn't have came out any better, man. This is CNC transparent ABS. It has this nice frost look. I gave it like this nice kind of like 3D edge with a chamfered edge in this flat area that'll meet the eventual laser cut front front panel that I'll be cutting out myself. With that said, this is a case collage that's made for 2 smaller disc games. So I'm talking about your 2 PS1 games, 2 Sega Saturn games, or 2 Dreamcast games. Now the reason why I had them CNC this is because whenever I do a case collage, I typically have to have it 3 pieces. I have to have a back plate, a middle plate, and then the front plate. But with this, I only need 1 piece of acrylic. If you probably notice, I have the instruction manuals laid down flat because if I ever felt like, changing things around a little bit, I could just change to another page of the instruction manual and kind of give it a different look. Now this entire video isn't about the creation of my first wall display for myself, but it is about me finding the games I want to populate this case collage with. Now girlfriend Yuchon and myself would go to Kobe 2 times together, and I would go there 2 times outside of that, once for work and one just to go hang out. The timeline looks different, time of day, whatever, things just look different. That's probably why, because we're just there on different occasions for different reasons. To make this little voyage easily repeatable for those of you who decide to visit this area or use this somewhat as a guide, every location I chose is within walking distance of each other within or around the Sun Plaza area. However, if you like to pave your own way while you're here, I will be leaving the locations down below in the description with a timestamp of said location. So let's make our way to our first stop from this particular entrance that will also be found in the description down below. Alright, so let's get started by heading straight down this path. And when you see this overhead sign, hang it right where we'll walk under the Center Plaza Sun Plaza entrance sign. Take the escalator up and boom, Surugaya Specialty Shop should come into view as you reach the top of the escalator. Surugaya is a pretty common store throughout Japan, especially if you're familiar with the man holds game at camera in a retro game store. As we make our way inside, there are many things that'll grab your attention, but the first thing you'll see are these figures that may or may not look familiar if you've been to a game center before you arrived here.
Fun fact, most of these are the figures that you see in claw games, and then they just sell them out to the stores, and then you guys could just buy them locally. So instead of doing 10 tries, this is 1,000 yen, you could just buy it for $10. Janemba is like my favorite villain from Dragon Ball, but I refuse to buy him. I just want to earn him in a claw game. But if one day they run out and he's not around, at least I know I'll be able to get him whenever I feel like it.
Taking a few steps over from the figure section, we will find ourselves in the model section of the store, where you'll come across big Gunpla, small Gunpla, to non-Gunpla, to more, and oh my god.
Whenever I come to places like these, I don't see a lot of G Gundam stuff, but here we got Dragon Gundam, got another version of him. Adding on to the G Gundam, we got Shining Gundam here. The one that has caught my interest is this small version of Devil Gundam. I thought it just said damn head, damn ass head.
A layout like this one is something you'll see quite commonly if you're store hopping, but as you can assume, each place will carry something others don't. Now what's crazy is even though these stores are close to one another, prices can vary heavily in some cases. So if you see something you may like, just make a mental note, check the other stores, and come back to it to see if the price is worth committing to.
Are you looking for your new Switch games?
No, I'm looking for Kiki Kai Kai.
My girlfriend's very enticed in finding Kiki Kai Kai because it's Pocky and Rocky in America, and it's about, how much was it? It was like 2,000?
Something like that.
Show me that thing.
It's nice.
The following game that would catch my eye was a game I only really know thanks to Jin Sao Tome and Marvel vs. Capcom, as this mecha fighting game Cyberbots is the game that he's originally from, which for some of you probably explains his supers and MVC. The box is pretty huge because this is the collector's edition due to its contents inside, as it holds like a comic book, art book style thing, I forgot, and a poster that's not so much a poster. I've been really interested in the contents inside of the game, even though I'm not very familiar of it. I've always known of the collector's edition. It's kind of cool to see it here. Maybe I might pick it up in the future, but today was not that day. Now, although I'm not familiar with Cyberbots to the extent that I wished I was, it wasn't a game in my past, but the next game I would come across would be a game that I'm very familiar with and have referenced on the channel here and there. For my intro transition,
Welcome to the revolution. Welcome to the revolution. Hey, come on, come on. Hey, come on, come on.
to my very influenced scene transitions, and that game is simply Capcom vs. SNK 2. Now, I don't really talk about any of my 2D game experiences outside the obvious one that I mentioned from my past, but CVS 2 has a very interesting place in my heart because it was my first ever party game. You see, when we boot this game up, we had about 4 to 6 people ready to play. This would be our in-between games between Halo, whatever the hell we were playing at the time. And considering this is a 1v1 game, we would just have one group of friends representing one player side or two player side, allowing everybody to pick their favorite characters and play who they want to play. As some of you know, when a character dies within CVS 2, the round ends and brings up the next character, unlike a tag fighter where your next character can enter in within the same round. Thanks to that little break within the action, this would give us enough time to pass the controller to whoever chose the next character. You see, the aspect of a party game didn't just come from the amount of people. I mean, yes, we would have a bunch of people playing at any given time, but the party was activated before the game even started because we would always make sure to play with Game Shark with infinite meter. And you can already imagine how— What's up, bitch? I told you you ain't shit. What is that? I'm Rick James, bitch. As much as I would love to put the PlayStation 2 version of the game in my display, my layout for PlayStation 2 games weren't quite ready yet, so I went with the Dreamcast version to save some real estate. Dreamcast also shares a lot of dimensions with PS1, making my life a bit easier, which is fine since I'm more connected with the title itself rather than the platform it came from. So after my brief pickup at Sudagaya, it's time to head out to our next location. If we were to head straight out from the front and then head straight up the escalator, you will find on your right Ojamacon. If you need any further confirmation to make sure you're there, just keep an eye out for the demo units outside of the store. Unlike Sudagaya and the other stores within this video, Ojamacon is just straight up a gaming store. Outside of amiibos, that's pretty much the only thing you'll see in terms of figures, and you'll just see games, peripherals, consoles, and anything of the like related to gaming.
I wonder what you're looking for. So we also just found Jack Bros. Well, she found Jack Bros because she's out here trying to hustle. And how much is it?
$175, $180.
But
the complete set, almost $2,000.
Yeah. Damn, the original price tag is still on. It was $7. That's crazy. $7. Now this one has strategy guide. The only strategy guide I'm really looking for is Biohazard 2 DualShock edition or whatever, because I have one that I want to pair with the strategy guide, but it's only the regular Resident Evil one. So hopefully I'll be able to find it. I think it has Leon and Claire on the front, but you know, it is what it is. I think there's another one out there that doesn't have it, but I think it's metallic. So now I am making a case collage for N64 as well, although I would love to do it with the Mario Kart 64 box. I need to find something simpler, so I think I'm gonna get this Super Smash Brothers and start it with this so I can make the template and stuff and figure it out from there. So I just realized there's like a buried fight stick in here, and it's Arcana Heart. I didn't even know had its own thing, which comes in a red body. That's kind of sick, and a sticker pack apparently. 70 bucks, well 50 bucks probably USD. I'll do the conversion later. That's actually nice, not bad. This is kind of cool. They have like a whole wall dedicated to collector's editions. Let's see if they can find anything relevant to me, even though I'm probably not gonna get anything because a lot of these are too big for me to bring home. Bayonetta's pretty sick. Here on Switch, you have Fate, Samurai Kenman. Okay, Biken? Okay, you Fate guys, you fucking, Jesus, why is this Dead or Alive collector's edition so fucking huge? Here you go, there's a PS Vita box comparison, and then here's a PlayStation 2 box comparison. Jesus Christ. Holy crap, I didn't even realize this. This is a Sega Saturn model kit. You know, like what it looks like? Yeah, it does. It looks like that. It's like a super mini version of what the Sega Saturn was. And it comes with like a mock PCB board and Final Fantasy V. I've never really finished a Final Fantasy in my life. I think I got close to finishing 10, and I did finish X2. And X2 would actually be my one of choice, which I'm probably gonna get flamed. Sorry, Final Fantasy X2 was my one and only accomplishment.
Now, as we were getting ready to go, I took another look at the showcase, and there were some games that caught my interest before leaving this place. But the only one that really interested me was this super clean Metal Gear for the original Famicom. Although this is Metal Gear 1, this isn't the one that introduced me to the series. Metal Gear Solid 1 on PlayStation 1 would be the game that would introduce me to the series. I didn't play this one through. This is one of those games that was kind of too young, and I just watched my older peers play it. However, I was a big fan of Metal Gear Solid 2, and Snake Eater. Those games would have a huge impact on me, mainly because like it was the first time I was introduced to real adult themes, Freemasons, Illuminati, government corruption, all that kind of stuff. Plus totally ignoring that Metal Gear Solid 2 predicted the fucking future. Obviously my brain would just ignore all the espionage signs, and the only thing it was concerned of was, where is Box? How do I use Box? I feel so safe in here. I guess I'll go outside. Fuck. Since Ojamacon was primarily focused just on video games, I figured if we headed to another hobby shop that is primarily focused on one thing would be fitting. Model builders, I'm looking at you. Leaving the front door of Ojamacon, you will see the escalator that we originally came up from. Walk past the escalators and head down this hallway. Once you reach the end of the hallway next to these crane games, make a left. And if you were to look straight down the hallway, you will find the hobby model focus Volks Inc. showroom. Now we entered from the right side that has no signage, but if you enter from the left, you should see this signage to confirm that you're in the right place. If you're a model builder, this place will be dreamland for you, as it has tools, models of every variety, environment sets, displays, anything that you pretty much could think of will be found here. What's funny is we have been here twice, but with each time that we've came has been for completely different reasons. First time we came just to enjoy the models that were on display, along with the kits that they have to offer.
Kanajo, Gundam ski desu ka?
Gundam好きだよ。でも何かわかんない。I want this one. Look, so pretty, so detailed. I like his horns.
And then he has
Like
the
red,
shiny,
yeah, shiny.
the shiny poopies.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at these little adorable chibi zakus, like small body, big ass head.
Right.
Fast forward about a month and a half, 2 months later, and I'm picking up a bottle for panel lining and an X-Acto knife. Yu-chan is grabbing an action base to display her creations, and at the same time searching for her next project, which is all due to a hobby that didn't just consume me, but would consume both of us at the same time. And that hobby is the one I want to talk about first, as I think it was referenced in a lyric by, I think it was Kendrick Lamar or something like that. It went dun. It went dun 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 dun. Gunpla! Zaku looking bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on char, but somebody gotta do it. Gunpla! You get the idea. Now, yes, I have showed my master grade Master Gundam and my high grade Noble Gundam, but considering I've owned 10 to 11 Gundams throughout my lifetime, and these two were the only ones I ever finished, let you know I was more of a Gunpla enjoyer rather than a Gunpla builder. But I would be lying to you that I actually decided to do this myself. Girlfriend Yu-chan was very interested in building her own Gunpla alongside me if I were to do so. And I'm actually starting from the actual bottom, starting with the entry grade versions of Gunpla, and hopefully make my way into high grade, master grade, real grade, and then of course, perfect grade. I thought this would be really fun to see how the iterations change between not only the grades, but the models I actually have here to start with, and then buy those within each grade to see how the engineering changes between each model. But of course, I had to get the Gunpla that started it all and got our interest sparked when we were in Kobe, and that was the Chibi Zaku. But this one is a 7-Eleven store exclusive. Of course, since we have the Chibi Zaku, I had to make sure to get the Chibi RX-78, which is the one I'm assuming I'm going to be building. As you can see, it's a pretty simple design and has very limited amount of parts, and from the looks of it, you get a clean, simple model out of it all. Now, originally I was planning on making a separate video of me getting into Gunpla, but our excitement couldn't be contained, and before we knew it, we started building these little guys. This kit was extremely fun and simple. Whether or not it's because I wasn't doing it alone, I cannot confirm or deny. Gross. But regardless, you get a great little model that can be your little desktop buddy. From there, it just went off the rails, and we would end up building this RX-78 foo together. She'd build the top half, I'd build the bottom half. Then she would go ahead and build a high-grade high-Zac Zaku, while I would build this all-black RX-178 Gundam. Yeah, so thanks to that exposure to the Chibi Zaku, we went from no Gunpla to 5 complete builds in about a 2-week time period, which has also naturally spawned a backlog that includes the SD Dark Gundam that I would pick up our second time back to Kobe. Actually, I really wouldn't call it a backlog. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do and how I want to present these, as I'm still unsure if I want to go completely into Gunpla on this channel or make a second channel, or do I wait to develop techniques to really get them where I want, whether they're Gunpla or not. I just don't know yet. This hobby, I feel like, definitely is still in its honeymoon phase, so we'll see if it's going to be something that will stick around for a while or it's just a phase. All I know really is we've been enjoying the builds that we've made so far and looking forward to the ones that will come in the future.
I can do believe.
Anyways, let's get back to the games and move on to the next location, shall we? If we were to backtrack a little from our walk from Ojamacon, instead of going straight to Volks Inc., we will instead make a right towards Plaza West. And if you don't see this hallway area, get fucked, mate. Past the Title Station Arcade, peep the Crane Games on the right, and directly to your left of the Crane Games will be Trade Park, which it seems like they're based around video games, some figures, but primarily trading cards. Which, by the way, outside of this store that we're going to, there is a lot of trading card areas to go to and find whatever you're looking for if you're into that kind of thing. Now, I'm not really into TCG, but being around it gives me a slight temptation of rebuilding my old Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Problem would be I would need a lot of money to replace that deck, as at the time they were priceless but are pretty sought after now. I'm talking about Dark Magicians, Blue Eyes White Dragons, a couple of pieces of Exodia here and there. Just I can't. Here you'll find mystery packs, the kind that only shows the front, leaving the rest to your imaginations, plus loose cards and even loose decks, and all the sleeves, cases, and protectors you'll ever need for a said card. You can't expect the usual assortment of figures, especially the Crane Game and Combini offerings, but if you're looking for Gunpla or model kits in general, this is not going to be the place because it doesn't seem like it's really their focus, as this little pocket of model kits were the only ones here. The video game selection was pretty decent, though nothing crazy, but I did find some jewels, and you'll probably find some if you look hard enough.
So they have a premium case, so we're going to check out the premium case first and then go from there. And right out the gate, I got a very valuable game. The reason why, I don't know. I forget the name of this Castlevania every time. So we got Ocarina of Time in the bag, Super Smash Brothers. What's funny enough, that Super Smash Brothers in the back is more expensive than the one that we just saw. It looks like it's pretty much in the same condition. Japanese version of GoldenEye, which is like 69, 80 yen. Now, mind you, I've seen Chrono Trigger plenty of times, especially on Famicom, but I feel like I don't see it on PlayStation very often, so it's kind of cool to see it in this form, which is actually really clean. I wish it had the Obi card because I might have picked it up. But yeah, right next to Final Fantasy Tactics. And also they got your free cartridges, open cartridges, or whatever you want to call them, just out in the open for you to pick if you have the patience to find whatever you're looking for. And just like that, like Ocarina of Time you have for $9.80. So I mean, if you have the box for super cheap, get the game for super cheap, you got a super cheap combo just right there waiting for you. And we have the amiibos again, but there's one amiibo that's actually, oh boy. Damn, Solid Snake. Shout out Streets of LA. Well, hold on, I gotta get these together. Y'all, what y'all know about the double fecta? I was gonna say trifecta, but this one has a special place in my heart. Definitely if you guys know the effects in my intro, all of the sound effects are from this game.
After that little discovery, it was time to move on to our next location, which would actually serve as the location I spent the least amount of time. So if you were to come out the store and hang a left, keep going down until you reach the escalator and head back to the ground floor. As you're walking through the ground floor, take note of this book off sign, which is where we're actually going to be heading to next. Once you pass the sign by a little, hang a right into this obvious suggested area, then choose the escalator or elevator to get you to the 5th floor and say hello to Book Off. Now, from what I remember, I think Book Off is the largest secondhand store franchise in Japan, so they will have a large offering of pretty much everything. However, they might have everything but what you're looking for, which this Book Off did for me.
You got Android 18 model kit. Little feet, but when you're in the bigger stores like Book Off, what you run into can vary quite heavily. I mean, obviously you got this gigantic selection, but like, you know.
Just looking at the mere size of the game area and skimming the selection, I knew there was a lot I had already seen, especially considering the sizes of the stores we went to before this one. Although it lacked a selection of games, I was really here for the guides, and by chance I would come across the shiny Biohazard 2 DualShock Edition strategy guidebook that I mentioned earlier. It may not be the exact one I was looking for, but I now can match this guide to its respective game. With my hobby hunt, retro game hunt, or whatever you want to call it officially over, it was time to leave the plans up to the SO and simply spend some quality time together.
All I need is 한교동. 한교동 kawaii. I'm gonna get it.
So this part is a little bit of a bonus from our second time back, since I really didn't show any food spots from our first time here. I figured why not, since we were already in the area again, and I thought having a food place would kind of top things off. Leaving the front of book off from the ground floor and simply going straight from here for a while, you'll eventually come across a restaurant called Nikumaru. So this place, Nikumaru, is an all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink yakiniku spot, which is pretty common throughout Japan. If you've never been to a place like this before, here's the deal. You get a grill at your table, they bring out raw cuts of meats and veggies and whatever it is that floats your boat, and you cook it yourself. It's hands-on, it's fun, it smells great, and it's perfect if you're rolling deep with the boys, or if you're simply riding solo. I don't remember the exact price, but I do remember the price being pretty damn good. I think it was like 20 to 25 bucks a person, but don't quote me on that, which is kind of crazy considering the quality of food you get. Great food, great price, great vibes, great staff. We definitely lucked out on this little shot in the dark as we weren't even planning on coming here, but this was an awesome way to conclude our second time back in Kobe.
Now I know I said that we're gonna have Kobe and Umeda in one video, but...
And what I was trying to say while the cicadas decimated my lav mic is I would end up finding a game to pair with CBS2 within my case collage. Small problem was, it wasn't in Kobe. Since I didn't find anything in Kobe, I decided to head over to Umeda, Osaka to see if I had better luck. It's only about 10 minutes away, so it makes for an easy trip. Originally I was planning on including Umeda in this video as well, but I figured it made more sense to dedicate a full video to each area instead.
Dude, no way they have Musashi Collector's Edition for the PS1.
So after seeing game after game after game after game, I would finally decide on a game to include into my case collage and live beside CVS2. And that game was... When it comes to my connection with Marvel vs. Capcom 1, I would say it's almost stronger than my CVS2 experience, as it's a big reminder of the end of a chapter of my life. You see, when you get out of high school, you're just trying to figure out what this adult world has for you. We're all preparing for that next step, and I was preparing to move out of my childhood home. Thankfully, my best friends and myself would make a deal with my pops to attempt to lighten the blow of this significant shift during our final weekend of clearing the house out. The deal was simple. We would take care of all the heavy lifting for the weekend, but the trade for this labor was the TVs of the house would be the last items to go, so we could game for our last weekend at this house. In retrospect, I like to think that all of us knew this was going to be a huge change in not just mine but all of our lives, especially since I wasn't going to be the only one leaving or going through big changes. Some of those friends have faded, some of those friends are just around but just not as close as they used to be, and some of those friends still remain within my inner circle. But regardless of where they are in my life currently, I can appreciate this time during this moment in my life where a couple of teenagers were trying to remain kids for just a little longer.
Marvel vs. Capcom!
Now, a trend that I always like to show in my videos when it comes to my personal projects, I love to destroy the fallacy that I got it right for the first time, which has been applied to the enclosure and my burning lever project, and it looks like the case collage is also a victim of my brain doing things. Thankfully, nothing is detrimental, but I did make this top panel to the exact size of the opening of the ABS enclosure, which makes for a really tight fit. So tight, in fact, that I don't even think I need these standoffs to hold the thing together because the friction fit is just that good. But it takes a little bit of finagling to really get this thing in there, although I'm sure they're strong enough for that kind of abuse. Avoiding the negative thought of it breaking is something I like to keep out of my life because I already have my bank account that does that for me. Taking a look at the rear section of the rear artwork from the CD cases, it comes out just a little bit on the panel, but I'm not really too concerned for that for reasons I'll explain for a second. But the slots I actually made for the rear artwork are also a little too tight, but I can just go in there and hit it with a file and get the clearance that I need. I also didn't chamfer or fill at the edges, so the edge is pretty fucking sharp, and I'm not even kidding about that. I could probably cut myself on this thing if I really tried, but I did that intentionally because I wanted to make a silicone mold from this thing so I can eventually make this out of epoxy resin. That way I can open myself to a lot more finishes and get a bit more color separation. With that said, you probably can see why I went with the frosted look of the ABS on this one, because once you get a little bit of light pollution back there, this thing looks crazy. As I mentioned many times before, I usually get into something to kind of learn a technique and apply it somewhere else. This is something I did with the burning lever to just get myself in making things in general, which would eventually spawn the end closure. And with this case collage here right next to me, I'm going to learn how to make a silicone mold and use epoxy resin so I could eventually apply to these as well. And now that I have a helping hand from PCBWay, a service mind you I had already planned on using and signed up for almost a year ago till this very day, opens my projects up to a workflow I never could have imagined. Now that my choices for my own personal case collage have now been completed, I can finally talk about the haul that came from Kobe and the many hauls that came after that as I was waiting for my case collage to arrive from PCBWay. Now when it comes to the games, I have an assortment of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, and I thought it'd be cool to have a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2. Then I actually remembered that the PlayStation 2 is actually backwards compatible, so it kind of defeated the purpose of me going out to get a PS1, so I just got a PS2. And the PS2 I actually would end up picking up is one from my childhood that I always thought would be unobtainium, as I never really had dreams or any ideas on going to Japan and getting it myself. And that PlayStation 2 is the Silver Edition Japanese exclusive PlayStation 2. Boy, I can hear Teenage Alex screaming from here. This system did not come with a controller, so all I would have to do was just, find a controller, go out of my way and find it somewhere else. But no, just kidding. I would just buy a whole ass another PlayStation 2 because the entire box complete set of this sumbitch was the same price as a silver PlayStation 2 controller, and it also came with something very special outside of a working controller. This bad boy came with the vertical PlayStation 2 stand. Do you guys remember this and like all the ads and stuff, and even like the commercials, and finding out that like actually having it vertical was not the best position to have the PlayStation 2? Good times. Now I would actually buy that silver controller right before finding this complete system, which is why I have both. I figured now that I had two controllers though, both Yuchan and myself can play some multiplayer games together on the PlayStation. This is one I feel I should remind you guys while reminding myself. Make sure to confirm operation before purchasing anything, as this silver controller for the left side of the D-pad does not work. I don't know how it slipped my mind because I did double check the silver PS2's operation at the store where I bought it from, but it is what it is. I'm not 100% sure if I'm keeping either of these PlayStations, but if the silver one stays, I do plan on modding it to revisit the PlayStation 2's library on OEM hardware. Of course, with a small hint of modern technology, like upgrading to HDMI mod or free McBoot mod where I could load games from a memory card or even load games from an SSD, and possibly do a custom enclosure, as I do have a 3D printer and a laser cutter. Moving away from the PlayStation 2 console, we can talk about how I've been pairing games with guides and guides to games, and one of those guides is Capcom vs SNK 1 that I've had here for a little bit now. What's cool is if you were to slip off this little slip cover here, it reveals a poster here containing Raiden and Zangief, two characters I don't really give a shit about, but actually it's pretty cool just to have because you're not really expecting to have something like this just by picking up a strategy guide. But since I already have the guide for this game, it's natural that I picked up the game for this guide, and the game was obviously Capcom vs SNK 1, which I also managed to pick up on Dreamcast while I was at Surugaya in Kobe. The next pickup that would find itself in this small collection was a Final Fantasy VII guidebook. I mostly picked this up for a friend to go along with their case collage of said game, but something that stood out to me were these little comic panels of Cloud and the character portraits scattered throughout the book. For all of you Final Fantasy fans out there, not me, definitely check out these guidebooks, as it seems a variety of them contain a world map poster of whatever game that the guidebook is associated with. Might as well mention it, but if you see this version of Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 1 in Japan, this is the definitive vanilla version of the game before its international release, which is lacking super boss battles, I think a change in the tempo that the dialogue is delivered, and the scene where Cloud is just a bitch and gets his boy killed by his ops.
Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy?
Of course,
Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, Cloud?
Wrong answer, bub. The only right answer is Gunpla! Chrono Trigger would be the next and final game I would pick up for the Super Famicom. Just like shelf collectors, I never played the full game. Surprisingly, I was able to grab this for just about 15 to 20 bucks. The box is a little beat up, but the game is complete. It even came with a perfect manual, a very slightly yellow cartridge sticker, and unexpectedly the original ad insert for Satellaview. I would also find a strategy guide a couple of days later, yet in the same place for Chrono Trigger that was resealed at some point. I popped it out of curiosity to reveal that there was still a poster in there of oh wow, is that Trunks in Super Saiyan 4? Although I never played Chrono Trigger at that time, I wonder if we'll ever have like a big three of developers come together and make an amazing game like this one, especially as I'm finally booting up my first playthrough as we speak. Oh wow, that cinematic was great. I wonder if the gameplay is just as exhilarating. Not gonna lie, I was about to do a meme where I compare like the cinematic to the actual gameplay, but yo, this track slaps. Now it's time for my special attack, Trigger.
Now I have these super sick wristbands that go with Capcom versus SNK, but this is the first one. So like if I come across Pro on Dreamcast, I might.
Now this next and final item that I'll be talking about in this video is actually the item that triggered this whole collecting thing in the first place, as my job started to venture into a side quicks of a side gig of a side job to start exporting Japanese goods over to America. And during our trips to find stuff, I fell into a specialty store where I would end up finding these extremely rare Capcom vs SNK Pro DigiDirect wristbands. There's not a lot of information on these on the internet. Apparently you would pre-order or buy directly through DigiDirect or something, and they would send souvenirs back along with the game that you purchased. And for Capcom vs SNK Pro, these wristbands were those collectibles. Now I do have Capcom vs SNK Pro on PlayStation 1, which is when I thought this little hunt was actually finished, but this did not come with the PlayStation version. This actually came with the D of the D-Direct with the Dreamcast version. And we all know if you're looking for an arcade perfect-ish experience, that shit ain't being found on fucking PlayStation. So yeah, this was a little come up, especially since I didn't know Capcom vs SNK Pro even existed. Now, if you're actually looking for a way to get things from Japan sent over to wherever you are, I'm going to be opening a, I guess, peer-to-peer proxy service, and it's going to be called Moonglide Collect. I already helped some friends and clients get some stuff from Gunpla, games, car parts, that Gundam chair I featured a couple of videos ago, decommissioned pachinkos, and much more. This will also be where you can find my pre-made case collages, eventually my enclosure, my burning lever, and anything else that I decided to put out there. Nothing is too ridiculous. Worst thing I'll say is no, but either way, I'll do what I can to help you find whatever it is you're looking for. Now you can expect updates from the enclosure and the burning lever, as now I have a way with PCBWay to really reach the end goal that I'm really looking for. Then you'll have these kind of videos where I just go out to places and show you guys what I find and some stories that I have with some games and such, and then pretty much whatever I feel like posting, as my Gunpla interest is still going on now, and an airbrush is looking mighty tempting. Thank you guys for watching, and as per usual, peace out. Until next time. Let me know if you want me to go anywhere else within the Kansai region. Okay, bye.
Welcome to the revolution. Hey, come on, come on!